Hello everyone! In behalf of Group 1, good afternoon, especially to Mr. Rohel Bonaabra. We are the first discussant in our subject, PEC-PCK1, Facilitating Learning-Centered Teaching. Our topic is all about cognitive learning theory of Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development and information processing theory. Are you excited, everyone? If you were excited, please sit back and relax, and I will give the stage for Miss Isel de la Cruz.
Hello, good day class, good day sir. So before we move on to our discussion, let us first have this quotation from Vygotsky. So what a child can do with assistance today, he or she can do it alone tomorrow. For us human beings, so it is necessary for us to have help from other people before learning anything. So it all comes from the help of those around us, those adults. For example, we were a child then we have the adults supervising our every move and also teaching us how to do things. So but then if we have reached the certain age where we can do it alone, we can. So this quotation is all about how others can help us develop and gain knowledge through our experiences with interacting with those people around us. And then before we begin with our theory of cognitive development that I am going to discuss, let us first know a certain psychologist or a certain man behind this theory. So let us know who Lev Vygotsky is. So he was a Soviet psychologist and he was one of the most influential psychologists. So he was best known for his socio-cultural theory of cognitive development. He was born in November 17, 1896 in Orsha, a city in the western region of the Russian Empire. So he attended Moscow State University where he graduated a degree in law in 1917. He also studied a range of topics including sociology, linguistics, psychology, and philosophy. And in 1924, his formal work in psychology started when he attended the Institute of Psychology in Moscow. So according to Kendra Shervy, an author and educational consultant focused on helping students to learn about psychology, Vygotsky's interests were diverse about psychology. So Vygotsky often talk about how people are different from each other, but it also often centered on the issue of child development and education. And he has also explored the psychology of art and language development. So Vygotsky completed a dissertation in 1925 on the psychology of art, but due to his illness of acute tuberculosis, he was awarded his degree in absentia. So because it left him incapacitated for a year. So the dissertation, it is a professional qualification presenting the author's research and finding, also known as thesis or research paper. Then let us know what is Vygotsky's contribution in psychology. So as I've mentioned before, the theory that Lev Vygotsky contributed in psychology is the socio-cultural theory of cognitive development. So what is socio-cultural theory of cognitive development? So it explains that learning is a social process by which the intelligence of an individual originated from social interaction within the society and the culture it has. So in psychology, Vygotsky's work and researches focus on the role of social interaction in an individual's cognitive development. Even us, as a student, can be approved to this. We cannot deny that all the knowledge that we have comes from those person, those people, those individual that has a higher level of knowledge or those who are more experienced than us. So what we learned from the day we were born comes from the teaching of those who are with a higher level of knowledge and also experiences we gain from interacting with other people. For example, learning how to walk as a child, we learn from our instinct and the help of the adults. So we know how to talk because our parents and guardian taught us, and by our daily interaction with them, we slowly become experts. And socio-cultural theory of cognitive development focuses mainly on how social interaction helps with people, with a person on gaining knowledge and cognition. So this theory is centered on the process of development that happen on an individual by being part of the society, and also the beliefs, culture, and traditions that a community has. So according to Rugoff 2003 or Rugoff 2003, culture contributed to cognitive development by providing children with structural, meaningful, and motivating opportunities to acquire, practice, refine, and exceed their understanding and skills. Then let us talk about the elementary mental function, which help us in gaining this said knowledge by interacting with other people. So let us know that the elementary mental function are those abilities we have from the day we were born. First is the attention. So it is the ability to shine a mental spotlight on a specific object, topic, or event. So as we grow, our ability to concentrate becomes more pronounced. We were able to focus on challenging problems for much longer and more reliably, so we can learn to tune out distractions and become better learners. Second is the sensation. Play was essential to development, but then the children's interaction to the world is limited during the early years. So we as a parent, the adults encourage them to learn through their senses. So we give them toy that can allow them to touch, see, taste, hear, and smell as they desire. So from there, they are able to recognize the things that gives them joy and also those that gives them discomforts. Next is the perception. It is the capacity to interpret those around us, or the interpretation of the physical world. So, but as we grow, our perception became attached to our emotions and experiences. But every individual has their own perception of things, and the differences can sever social consequences. So we all know this because diverse people means diverse beliefs, diverse opinions. So from this perception, there are not always two individuals with the same opinion on the same thing. There is always a difference between. And the last is the memory. So it is the means by which we draw our past experiences in order to use this information in the present. So according to Robert Sternberg, it is not only our knowledge that increases as we grow, but also our capacity to encode and retrieve memories. As infant, our brain is unable to bundle information because we can't remember being an infant. But once we can remember, we were able to build the foundational knowledge necessary to succeed later in life. So in all, these four functions serve as direct route to higher mental functions. The development of these functions and our capacity to learn go hand in hand. So then, again, what is sociocultural theory of cognitive development? So cultural differences in interactions between adults and children influences how a child behaves socially. So culture is defined as all ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of a population that are passed down from generation to generation. It is the way of life for an entire society that includes codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, and many more. And it influences a child from the moment they were born, making an impact as we grow. For instance, culture can affect how children build values, language, and belief system and understanding of themselves as an individual and parts of a society. So cultural influences can be received from their parents, environment, and the media. So the society that shows understanding of diverse cultures can impact a child's development in many ways. So like for example, gives them confidence and being comfortable interacting with others as they grow. So on this theory, through social interactions, students learn social cognition and develop cognitive tools. So individual differences in sociocultural contexts are influenced by those closest to us. And over time, these differences are internalized and affect our cognition, thought patterns, and views about the world. So a child that can do an activity alone gains certain knowledge, which is called the zone of actual development. So it is Piaget's cognitive development theory focused on. So wherein the child development happens by letting them explore and experience things by themselves. So it is called the zone of actual development. The child actually doing things without any assistance or help from the adults or other people. And then for the more knowledgeable other, another major term in sociocultural theory of cognitive development, it is the person with higher level of knowledge on things like our parents, siblings, teachers, or even those with the same age but is more advanced in knowledge gain. So as one of the major concepts of the sociocultural theory of cognitive development, the zone of proximal development is the difference between what a child can do with themselves or by themselves and what they can do with assistance from those knowledgeable other. So in here, Vygotsky believed that when a student is in the zone of proximal development for a particular task, providing the appropriate assistance will give that student enough of a boost to achieve the task. So as a future educator, we must know the important components which did the learning process. So first, we have to have the presence of someone with knowledge and skills beyond that of a learner, or it is the more knowledgeable other, or MKO. So number two, we have to have a social interaction with a skillful tutor that allows the learner to observe and practice their skills. And also scaffolding or supportive activities produced by the educator to support the students as he or she is led through CPD. So scaffolding was introduced by Wood, Brunner, and Ross. So according to Wood, 1976, page 90 of his book, defined scaffolding a process that enables a child to or a novice to solve a task or achieve a goal that would be beyond his unassisted effort. So scaffolds requires the adult controlling those elements of the task that are initially beyond the learner's capability, thus permitting them to concentrate upon and complete only those elements that are within their range of competence. So I have here an example of this scaffolding by Wood and Middleton, 1975, wherein 4-year-old children have to use a set of blocks and pegs to build 3D model shown in the picture. So if we are to be asked, it was difficult for a 4-year-old child to complete this alone. So then Wood and Middleton observed how mothers interacted with their children to build it. So they give specific instructions, direct demonstrations, and also encouragements. So as the result of the study, there is no single strategy that was best for helping them progress. And those mothers whose assistance was most effective were those who varied their strategy depending on how the child is doing. So those children, when they are doing well, they provided less help, and if they struggle, they give increasingly specific examples and also instructions until they can progress again. So this illustrates the scaffolding and the concept of CPD. So there are certain processes that aid effective scaffolding given by Wood in 1976. So first is gaining and maintaining the learner's interest in the task. Second, making tasks simple. Third, emphasizing certain aspects that will help with the solution. So number 4 is to control the child's level of frustration. And last is to demonstrate the task. So that is all for my report, for my part of this report. And the other major concepts and main concepts and major terms will be discussed by our next reporter. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, especially to you, Sir Ruhel. In this slide, I will discuss the major terms and concepts that related to the socio-cultural theory of cognitive development. But before we proceed, balikan po muna natin kung ano ba yung socio-cultural theory na binigay ni Vygotsky. The major arguments in this is that social interaction mediated through language is a key factor in the child development. This theory underscores the belief that children thinking is affected by their knowledge of the social community. So, pasimplihin po muna natin kung ano ba yung socio-cultural theory na sinasabi ni Vygotsky. Okay po? Yung pagkatuto daw po natin, hindi tayo matututo. Not because of or dahil sa mga kasama natin sa environment, kasama natin sa paligid-ligid or sa community itself. So, tayo is naapektuhan because of the people the people that revolves us, yung nasa surroundings natin. So, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng learning if wala yung mga yun. According to Vygotsky theory. Halimbawa, ikaw, mag-isa ka lang. Actually po, di ba sa studies, kung magre-research po kayo, kapag yung bata napalaki or pinapalaki without any human being around him or her, yes po, ibang study naman po yun, pero yung pagkatuto niya, syempre, iba dun sa pagkatuto na lumaki din talaga, nakasama yung mga tao. Ano po? Hindi yung kagaya ni Tarzan, halimbawa, di ba po lumaki siya with monkeys or chimpanzees? So, iba po yung learning process niya o yung pagkatuto niya ay hindi nagiging kagaya sa atin bilang, hindi ko naman po sinasabing hindi sila normal, pero tayo, bilang nasa normal situation tayo, iba po talaga yung pagkatuto nila. Ano po? Yun po yung pinopoint out ni Vygotsky dito sa kanyang sociocultural theory, starting sa learning process natin with the sociocultural, or yun ngang tinatawag nating social community, yung ma-acquire natin na knowledge from our social community. Like, for this one, ito naman po yung key components of sociocultural learning. So, yung social interaction na papunta or pabalik or papunta doon sa ating language. For this one, yung social interaction natin kaya nakaka-apekto sa cognitive development kasi nga po, yun yung surroundings natin. This is based on Vygotsky theory of cognitive development. Okay po? And then yung language, bakit naging part ng ating cognitive development? So, this is the first diagram na magpapakita ng cultural context na sinasabi about social interaction and then language. So, what is the role of social interaction doon sa ating sociocultural theory of cognitive development? It said Vygotsky emphasized the significance of social interaction in one's thinking. Children learn from the more knowledgeable others or MKOs, which include parents, teachers, adult, and more advanced individual. Once again, from parents, teachers, adults, and more advanced individuals na nakapaligid sa atin habang tayo ay natututo or habang tayo ay nagkakaedad, di ba po? So, yung pinaka-interaction natin sa magulang natin, which is the first step ng ating learning, kasi nga po, sila yung first teacher natin. Yung ating mga magulang, ating pamilya, ating mga kapatid, sina ate, sina kuya, di ba po? Kung ano yung binibigay nila sa atin na information, yun kasi yung madadala natin up to our latter years. Tama po ba? So, based doon sa theory ni Vygotsky, malaki yung rule. Malaki po talaga yung rule na piniplay ng mga taong nakapaligid sa atin, and we do consider them as more knowledgeable other or MKO. Like, doon sa pinakang stage ng sociocultural ni Vygotsky and PJ, nakacentered talaga siya doon sa learning years ng bata, sa mga toddlers. Ano po? So, doon yung age. Pero, iba na din siya kapag malaki na yung bata. Kasi nga po, like tabula rasa, if you are familiar with that, kapag bata ka pa or musmus ka pa lang, unti-unti pa lang nilalagyan ng information yung blank na papel sa utak mo. Pero kapag malaki ka na at napuno na din yung blank paper sa utak mo, hindi mo na rin siya magagraphs lahat or hindi na din siya magre-retain. Ang mariretain na lang sa blank paper mo or dun sa tabula rasa mo are those first information na binigay sa'yo. Ano po? At sa ating sociocultural theory ni Vygotsky, malaki po talaga yung binibigay na part ng MKO sa ating cognitive development or dun mismo sa knowledge natin. Then, dun sa right side ng diagram natin, makikita natin yung language. Kasi nga po, language plays multiple roles including culturally shaping the behavior of individuals. So, dito pa lang, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng interaction if walang language, non-verbal or verbal man yan. So once again, wala tayong social interaction kung hindi dahil sa lingwahe or not because of language. Because through language, human cognitive development and higher mental function are initiated from social communication as people engage in social activities. They are involved in mental and communicative function. Okay po. So hindi mabubuo si sociocultural if not because of social interaction with the use of language. Kaya po, balikan po muna natin. Kaya po, yung arrow natin dito sa diagram under Vygotsky, kung mapapansin nyo, nagba-back and forth yung arrow from social interaction to language, and then within the cognitive development. Kumbaga, paulit-ulit lang siya. Kasi kung walang social interaction, walang language na bubuo. At the same time, walang cognitive development or walang learning. And then kung walang language, walang social interaction na mabubuo. At the same time, walang learning or walang cognitive development. So, yun po yun. Kaya, importante yung rule ng social interaction at ang rule ng language into our cognitive development under sociocultural theory. And then, for this one, actually, dun po sa stage ni Piaget, more on development talaga siya ng bata. Stages. More on development stage talaga siya ng bata. Ano po kung maaalala nyo. Pero dito, pagkakaalam ko kasi medyo familiar na to sa mga kaklase ko kasi sa subject na or sa child and adolescent. So, in this diagram, since medyo familiar na to, i-attach ko na lang po dito kung ano ba yung tina-target ng mga stages na to sa speech development since we're dealing the language. So, doon sa social or external speech, these are thinking not related to speech and thinking in the form of image and emotions. Like we know sa mga toddlers natin or dun sa mga infant natin, ano po, once na umiyak sila, di ba, minsan, hindi naman related. Wala namang masakit sa kanila, pero naiyak sila. Anong dahilan? It is just because nagugutom lang sila. Pero parang ang hirap nga, kasi may nakita akong memes before, parang ang hirap maging baby kasi naiyak ka dahil makatil lang yung likod mo. Pero bubusalan ka agad ng dede. So parang hindi nga kasi connected yung thinking natin or yung thinking mo doon sa speech mo or natin. So, kumbaga, nandun ka pa lang sa development. And that is external speech. Kung naalala nyo, yun yung nangyayari sa mga infant or sa toddlers. Tapos yung thinking natin is based lang doon sa nakikita natin, visual learners, and then sa nararamdaman natin. Ano po? So, this is the first stage of speech development sa tao in general. The next one, the egocentric speech. Ito na, medyo malaki or medyo may edad na po yung nakakagawa nito. Thinking out loud and talking to oneself. And then, based on different researchers and studies, na once you can talk to yourself, once you can meditate and think with yourself, hindi ka po nababaliw. Ano po? It is because nagkakaroon ka lang ng deeper understanding sa mga bagay-bagay, and then nadidevelop talaga yung cognitive mo, and most especially also the metacognitive. Kasi kaya mo nang i-process yung mga bagay within yourself. Ano po, kagaya lang po ito ay yung in this stage, kung maalala niyo po sa stage development ni Piaget, yung mga assimilation. Magka-same lang po sila. Pero ang kay Vygotsky, main focus niya talaga is in sociocultural itself. In this stage, kumbaga, may personal progress ka na within yourself. Like, for example, yung bata, naglalaro ng toys or ng kotse-kotsehan or ng Barbie. Once na nagsasalita sila or gumagawa ng kwento about dun sa kotse-kotsehan nila or dun, at saka dun sa Barbie nila, and sarili lang nila yung kausap, that is egocentric speech na tinatawag. Meaning, nade-develop na nila yung side na yon or yung stage na yon within themselves na they don't need other individual para doon. And maybe nakarating sila sa egocentric speech kasi may nag-trigger din sa kanila or dahil din sa pamilya nila or baka dahil din sa social interaction na meron sila. And because of that, kaya na rin nila makipag-interact within themselves. Ano po? So, that is the good stage of speech development. And then lastly, yung inner speech, which internalizes speech. Speech guides thinking and behavior. Kung dito sa second speech natin, nagtithinking out loud siya, pero sa sarili din niya, dito naman, sa inner speech, parang inner voice siya. Kasi sa sarili lang din. Pero ang kinagandahan naman ito, may guidance na into your thinking and into your behavior. Paano po ba yun? For example, may pa-activity si sir or may pa-activity kami mamaya na ibibigay. Siyempre, individual learning yun. Kapag hindi ka nakatingin sa PowerPoint na binigay ni sir o binigay na namin as a reporter, nakinig ka lang habang tinitin yung PowerPoint, and then sa pagkagawa mo, sa activity, sarili mo na lang yung kailangan mo. or kumbaga, hindi ka na mag-stick in to the PowerPoint itself. Para next slide, kung saang part na yung question, ganon. That is, inner speech kasi hinahanap mo sa utak mo kung asan bang part yung sinasabi ni sir or asan bang part yung sinasabi ng mga reporter na ganito, ganyan, saan bang slide to, saan bang slide yan. Kumbaga, nagkakaroon ka ng internalized speech na nag-guide sa thinking mo, the way you think and the way you behave. Okay po? So, yun po yung inner speech na sinasabi. I know may mga kulang po yung info about stages development kasi sa detailed na stage development, which is sa child and ado, naka-attach po doon yung ages or ranges kung saan to papasok or kung saang ages to angkop itong tatlong speech development na to. Ano po? So, and then kaya natin to tinatakal still under facilitating learner-centered teaching is because titingnan pa rin natin kung nasa na dito yung mga future student natin or namin. Nasa na ba sila or nauunawaan ba nila yung or napagdaanan na ba nila itong stages na ito, which is the speech development. Ano po? So, the next slide, it will be discussed by Miss Jessica Esperanza. Thank you.
Again, good afternoon everyone. This is Jessica A. Esperanza, discussant of classroom application of sociocultural theory of cognitive development. Without further ado, let's get started. From the information provided by the two previous discussants, we can realize that Vygotsky's approach to children development is a form of social constructivism based on the idea that cognitive functions are the product of social interactions. He emphasized that collaborative nature of learning by the construction of knowledge through social negotiations. Through that, I noticed that the most important application of Vygotsky theory to education is his concept of zone of proximal development. This concept is important because the teacher or we as a future educator can use it as a guide to a child's development. It allows a teacher to know what a students be able to achieve through the use of meditator and thus enable the teacher to help the child attain the level by themselves. Vygotsky rejected the assumptions made by Piaget that it was possible to separate learning from its social concept. That's why, according to Vygotsky 1978, every function in the children cultural development appears twice. First, between people or the interpsychological, and then inside the child, the intrapsychological. This implies equal to voluntary attention to logical memory and to the formation of concepts. All the higher functions originate as the actual relationship between individuals. Vygotsky believed everything is learned in two levels. First is the through interactions with others. It is how or what knowledge, skills, and idea we know through cooperation and interactions with others. And then the integrated into individual mental structures, it is how we process information that we collect or gain through interactions with other. As we all know the kasabihan na meron akong alam na hindi mo alam at meron kang alam na hindi ko alam. So yun, that's why naging mahalaga nga yung pakipag-interact or yung socialization natin sa ibang tao para na rin may ma-discover na mga bagay-bagay. Dapat natin tandaan na ang kaalaman ay hindi lamang iikot sa mga binabasa nating libro, sa internet at sa mga napapanood lamang natin, kundi ang kaalaman ay pwede nating matutunan sa pakikisalamuha sa ibang tao. Dagdag pa dito, in terms of understanding to the proximal development na na-mention ni Ate Hazel, ito ay natutulong sa teachers in a classroom setting kasi teacher yung unang nag-a-assess sa bata para malaman kung ano yung mga current skill level na ng bata. Educators can offer instruction that strengthens the limits of child's capability. Ayan, dito napapasok yung mga strategies natin. So, we as a teacher and the future educator can help promote the expansion of proximal development of a child. Ayan, dito napapasok yung planning and organizing their instructions and lessons. Yan, tayo bilang magiging guro, mapapansin natin na yung development at kakayahan ng ating mga estudyante. Kaya dito, pwede tayong mag-example na yung teacher ay mag-organize ng isang grupo ng klase kung saan lahok yung less skilled children at saka yung high skilled na mga estudyante. Kung saan magkakaroon sila ng collaboration, palitan ng mga ideas through that also, magkakaroon ng motivation yung isang estudyante na, ay alam niya yun, dapat medyo mag-explore pa ako, alam na dapat malaman ko rin yung mga ganong bagay. So, through that, yung medyo mababa yung skill, medyo tataas kasi mamotivate siya dun sa kaklase niya. And then next, we have using hints and prompts and direct instructions. Yan, dito sa part na to, pwede tayong mag-provide as a future educator, anything that can use as a guide ng mga students para ma-acquire yung isang knowledge. Hindi yung basta, sige, aralin nyo to. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Tayo sa future educator, dapat magbibigay tayo ng ilang materyales para makatulong na rin sa kanila na ma-acquire yung knowledge na kailangan nila. And then next, the scaffolding. Yan. Dito ay yung teacher provides specific prompts to move a child progressively forward toward a goal. Yun na nga yung sinasabi ko kanina na through scaffolding, tutulungan natin yung bata na i-build yung kanyang knowledge. Magiging hands-on tayo, pero hindi naman kailangan na maging spoon-feed yung pagtuturo natin sa kanila, yung pagpapasa sa atin sa kanila ng learnings. Hayaan natin sila na gumawa ng isang bagay para na rin may matutunan sila, may ma-discover sila sa sarili nila kung paano yun gawin. Tayo yung magiging support lang tayo sa pag-gain nila ng learning. Hindi natin sila i-spoon feed para ma-attain yung isang knowledge or yung skills na kinakailangan. Next, we have teaching. The teaching styles based on constructivism mark a conscious effort to move from traditional objectivist model didactic and the memory-oriented transmissions models. Yang papunta sa more student-centered approach. Pansin naman natin yon. That's why in a contemporary educational applications of Vygotsky's theory is reciprocal teaching. So, I know some of you are aware and have background knowledge about reciprocal teaching. Bakit nga ba ginagamit sa reciprocal teaching? Una, it teaches a student to use questioning. Student must ask questioning in order to clarify the misunderstanding and misconceptions. Research has shown that reciprocal teaching actually increases comprehension on reading and on subject content. Reciprocal teaching can be also seen as the metacognitive learning strategy. Students can use this strategy as their advanced academic career. It is a great way for teachers to have a dialogue in the classroom. In this way, students are participating in the lesson. And for most important part, student in this form of active learning engage to the student-centered lesson. So, doon na yung process na ginagawa natin, yung student-centered curriculum. As I said, yung method ng reciprocal teaching is teacher and students collaborations. At dito, papasok na yung tanong na how we implement. So, first, we have to teach to all students the FAV4 or the summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting. Ayan. Dito na papasok yung talagang student-centered. Sila na yung magdi-discovered at ipapacilitate na lang natin sila ng, for example, binigyan natin sila ng isang story na kailangan nilang basahin. Sa summarizing, o na main idea, hindi yung details yung main idea dun sa isang story. Parang sabihin ng bata, to keep it short, the story is all about, yan, dun papasok yung summarizing. And then, questions, sa questioning, papasok na dito yung magtatanong yung magsisimula sa who, what, when, where, and how. Sa clarifying naman, hahanap sila ng mga words or phrases na hindi clear sa kanila. At kung i-group nga natin sila doon sa mga lahok na estudyante, sa marunong at medyo mabagal umunawa, magkakaroon yun ng magandang interactions na yung medyo mabagal, makaunawa, magtatanong na, ay, ang tungkol saan ba to? Bakit ganito yung nangyari? So, magkakaroon sila ng palitan ng ideas, magkakaroon sila ng conversation through that. So, doon na pumasok yung social interactions na natuto sila, hindi lang dahil sa atin bilang guro or dahil na rin sa kanilang mga estudyante. Kasi yung more knowledgeable other, pwede ring maging kaklase nila, pwedeng yung mga yung mga magulang nila, yung mga nakakatanda, at tayong mga guro. Malileser na yung role natin in sabi ay the teacher role in the process is reduced over time. Bawasan na kasi tayo, napapacilitate na tayo or makikinig na lang tayo sa kanilang conversations. Pero kung bata yung tuturuan natin, pwede tayong mag-guide pa din. Hayaan natin, nandun tayo, kunyari nakapaikot yung mga bata, nandun tayo na makikinig tayo sa mga palitan nila ng conversation. At kung hindi sila kayang sagutin, doon na tayo papasok na pwede na tayong makisali sa conversations nila. Through that, hinahayaan natin yung bata pa din na sila yung, sa abot ng kanilang makakaya, sila yung gumawa ng part nila. At hindi tayo yung magbibigay ng magbibigay. Then, sa predicting, ayan, i-explain ng bata kung ano yung naisip nilang mangyayaring next dun sa story. Kung man may story natapos na bitin or kung ano man yung pinawakasan ng story, pwede silang mag-predict na ano ba yung mangyayari sa mga susunod. So, itong reciprocal teaching, dito siya umiikot sa 4 na concept na to o yung tinatawag nating PAV4. Also, Vygotsky theory of cognitive developments on learning is relevant to instructional concept such as scaffolding and apprenticeship, in which teacher or more advanced peer help the structure or arrange data so that a novice can work on it successfully. Sinabi ko kanina na scaffolding, yung ginaguide natin sila, bigay tayo ng mga gamit na magagamit nila, anything that can guide them, hindi yung para yun na yung maging learnings nila, guide lang. And dun sa word na apprenticeship. Sa era kasi ng mga king and queen, it means katulong. So dito sa pinag-aaralan natin, katulong or tutulong or yung magiging guide nga ng bata para sa pag-achieve niya ng knowledge. Kasi ang isang estudyante kailangan niya na may gagabay sa kanya at yun doon na nga yung more knowledgeable other, yung mapapacilitate nung paggawa niya ng isang bagay, hindi yung ituturo na lang sa kanya kung paano yung buong process. Maaaring magturo pero hindi yung buong process na halos siya na yung gumawa. Dapat is hahayaan pa rin natin na gumawa yung isang bata dun sa bagay na yun para siya mismo yung makadiscover nung learnings. Kasi di ba nga masasabi natin na mas natatandaan ng isang bata ang isang learning o skill kung siya mismo yung gumawa or nakadiscover. Parang dun pa rin yun papasok dun sa quotations na give a man a fish so he can live for a day, but teach a man how to fish, leave him in a long life. Pag tinuruan natin nga yung bata sa isang bagay, binigyan natin sa kanya yung isang bagay, makakasurvive siya dun sa activity na yun, sa grading na yun. Pero aminin natin na pag naglipat na sila sa ibang teacher, ayun, malilimutan ng bata yung process na tinuro natin o yung dapat niyang natutunan, hindi niya na-achieve. Kasi nga, tinuro natin o ibinigay na natin doon sa bata yung dapat niyang matutunan, hindi natin tinuro sa kanya step by step kung paano gawin. So, yun, aasa na lang yung bata. So, babalik na naman siya sa paraan ng aaralin niya yung part na yun. Kaya napakahalaga na i-guide natin yung mga estudyante para makuha nila yung kailangan nilang ma-achieve na learnings. And I think that's for me. Thank you!